Cool. How y'all doing? Everybody good? Yeah! Alright, sweet. I am not. I've been freaking out about getting older, because sometimes you haven't changed, you know? You're the same as you've always been, but your friends around you, it's like your peers doing grown shit that makes you realize you're getting older. Like my buddy bought a house, and I had to be like, hey, we don't do that. My friends had a baby. They were so excited. They were the first in the friend group to have a baby, but they were so excited that they sent me a picture of them in the delivery room with the dad cutting the cord. And I was immediately upset. Like, in my head, I was like, why do we even let him do that? Think about it. This dude is cutting the finish line tape on a race he didn't run. This is wild. For all the labor, he was just standing there, and then last second, he's like, I helped. It's like, it's not the same at all. She's been screaming for hours. At the very end, he's like, me too, girl. Shit, we did it, all right? No, I'm terrified of having kids, because kids are creepy. You know kids creepy? Nobody teach them how to be creepy, and they're still creepy. Which means it's innate, you know? Anybody here who's babysat a 5 or 6 year old has had that kid under the right lighting, look at you, but do this. Like, who is this for? Who taught them this? They'll just stand at the end of a hallway and talk to you like The Shine, like, hi. Kids whisper at night. Have you heard that? You can't get a kid to whisper during the day. And then at night they're like, I had a bad dream. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Get out of my face right now. Don't touch me, all right? It's creepy as hell. I'm terrified to be a dad, because I'm a dad, I'll be tired. Being a dad makes you tired. I'll be damned if I tuck my child in. I go to my room to rest my head on the pillow to get some Christian sleep. Only to be woken up in the middle of the night. There's a monster under my... I'm hitting them immediately, all right? I'm waking up swinging. This is the only situation where I feel like you gotta hit your kids, because it's self-defense, okay? You're not gonna roll up on me in my sleep doing hard S's like that, you know? Just in my face in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep. You're about to sleep forever, I promise you. Get away from me. Don't touch me. It's terrifying. I've been very excited. Very, very excited for October 24th. Just not able to wait. Sleepless nights. Getting ready for October 24th. If you don't know, October 24th is when Britney Spears' book comes out. My man. Like, this is the thing. This is the thing. I'm fascinated. I wasn't even like a big Free Britney person. I'm not into pop stars that much or anything. But Britney Spears is one of the most mistreated celebrities that we have in modern times, all right? And there's a lot of people, if you do them wrong, they try to get back at you immediately, right? You do them wrong, they key a car. They go on Instagram Live talking about, oh, you know. She didn't do that. She said, you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait like 2 decades. And then one random day in October, I'm gonna dance with knives. And I'm gonna write a book. And wow, yeah, amazing. Apparently, so there's a lot of revelations in the book, but one of them that really shook me was that she had a wild fling with Colin Farrell, right? And it was after her and Justin broke up and everything, and I can't remember exactly how she described it, but the words used in the book was like the fling was nothing less than just a sexual brawl. Those were her words. I've never had sex so good somebody wrote about it. You know what I mean? And the fact that she was like, we were just at each other all the time. It was just, the passion was like a street fight. I was like, God damn, gotta step my game up. I love doing comedy because I love making people laugh. When you laugh, you're letting yourself be yourself, you know? When you're genuinely laughing, you're not thinking about anything, you're not feeling pain, you're just enjoying yourself, you know? And I also love doing comedy because I'll say the thing that we all think, but you're not supposed to say. You know what I mean? Like, y'all won't say it, because y'all are good people. In fact, after I'm done, you might leave and be like, I would have never said that. And you're right, that's why I say it. It's like my job to say it. I'll give you an example right now. I hope everybody that I love dies in the order I love them. That would be incredible. That would truly be fire. Don't act like y'all have rankings. Don't do that. There's a couple, you know. I got a family member, she loved to call me to tell me who died. That's all she would call me. And she doesn't care. As soon as she knows, I know. She'll call me in the middle of my workday. It'll be 1:59 on a Wednesday. Can't wait. Calls me up. Are you sitting down? Are you sitting down always means dead, by the way. That's not, you're not being mysterious. I'm not like, whoa, what? Like, no, it always means dead. No one's ever like, are you sitting down because you just won the lottery? It's not happening. You know? Are you sitting down? And so I'm like, just tell me who it is. And she's like, your cousin Willie. And she doesn't know I'm on the other end of the phone like, oh, thank goodness. Okay, because she doesn't know Willie not even in the top 30, all right? Like, Willie can go, okay? This could have been a text message if I'm being honest with you. And you know what? That's the other thing too. Willie wasn't even dead. Right? I know, for nothing. Willie wasn't even dead. Basically, Willie was at her house, and he ate a bunch of the, grown man by the way, ate a bunch of the melatonin gummies thinking they were regular gummies. So he's snacking on these gummies while he watched an NBA draft. And put himself 86 gummies deep into a coma. This man was chumping and chumping and then had the nap of a lifetime. That's why I don't like Willie to begin with. He's a knucklehead. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the dumbest people I ever met. I had never wanted to necessarily get into martial arts. When I was a little kid, I was hoping I would grow enough to be a big enough man that nobody would mess with me. You know what I mean? Like, when I was little, I was like, there's still time. I'm gonna eat my greens, and I'm gonna keep going. So it works for Popeye, it'll work for me, you know. And then at 19, I was like, yep, I am done cooking. I need to come up with a plan or something, because right now, I'm very movable, okay? This is unacceptable. And so I started doing Jiujitsu. And if you don't know what Jiujitsu is, it's a martial art, and it's also the only time straight men are allowed to hug. And I started doing Jiujitsu, and there was a kid, okay, so I'm a white belt, right? After 2 years, I'm still white belt, so I'm not good. I'm actually pretty bad. And then they always have me roll is the sparring, they always have me roll with this kid, and he's 15, but he weirdly strong. I don't like it. It's like, cause you could, he looked 15, but then he get a hold of you like, oh my God, like it's terrifying. He's strong as hell, and he's a blue belt, and he should be higher. That's unacceptable. Like I feel like they gaslight me keeping him blue because he doing high level stuff to me. It doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like there's a very thin line in jiu-jitsu from getting submitted and getting fucked. Like it's really bad. And so I had to quit doing jiu-jitsu because last time, okay, so this is the last lesson that I did, right? So they were teaching us a drill, and then they had us just roll with each other, right? And he got a hold of me quick, because like I said, he's strong, so he grabbed me. I was like, ah, you know, and then he had put me, so imagine that the wall is the ground, okay? So he's on top of me, and then he had moved me. He like, I'm not a flexible person, but he had pushed me to where I'm like, this is the base of what's happening, and he's on top of me. And so now I'm trying to push him off, but like this is not a great position to be in. So then I'm over here just like, I'm not getting any track, like I can't get him off because he's strong, and then finally there was this moment, and we've all had this moment where it's loud somewhere, and then it gets quiet just in time for you to get embarrassed. You know what I'm talking about? You ever been at a club and then it's just in between songs, it's quiet for a second, and everybody hears you go, "My tampon!" Like that's basically what happened. So I'm over here fighting for my life, right? I'm just like over non-stop, and then out of nowhere I'm like, and like. And it should have been quiet. Everybody was making noise a second before that. And then he get quiet, and then he stop and he get up. And then everybody's looking at me like I brown belted myself. And he's like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Let's roll. And he's like, nah, I'm alright. I had to leave class. I was so embarrassed. I left early, and I just decided, all right, I'm done with jiu-jitsu. I'm just gonna buy a gun. Like, anybody want to press with me? They can catch his lead. Yeah. We have it happening again. You know, I've been dreading this towards the end of the year. Next year, in 2024, we unfortunately have another presidential election. Why are we still doing this? We've proven the president can basically be dead, and we will still function like normal. I don't know why we're still putting up this charade. I don't know about him. Like, what are you doing? I was talking to my friend about it because I've been dreading it so much, and my friend said something interesting. He said, you can tell who's gonna win by who has the most mockable voice. Right? So like Barack Obama had a more mockable voice than John McCain. Trump had a more mockable voice than Hillary. But then it falls apart. Because I don't think Biden has a more mockable voice than Trump. Trump's like an actual character. You know what I mean? I have a different metric. I think whoever's the freakiest wins. Do you know what I mean? Like, Barack and Michelle were laying it down way harder than John McCain and his wife. That was when Barack still had the good hips and everything, you know. And we know about all these porn stars that Trump has tried to smash, that he has smashed, you know. Bigger freak than Hillary. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it. I think Biden is a bigger freak than Trump. I do. Remember when he started running and was smelling the back of everybody's necks? Remember that? We had to beg him to stop. We were like, Joe, nobody does this. This is insane. Y'all remember what I'm talking about. He would just be up on somebody like... doing that weird ass whisper, just like... That's some good neck meat you got. I used to be one of these dudes that was like, I'm never getting married. Never. Like, when I was 20, I was like, I'm never getting married. I can't even imagine. Why would anybody do that? Whatever, right? And then I worked at a bar when I was 20. And so a lot of the people that came to the bar and a lot of people that I worked with were older than me. But now that I'm older, they're middle-aged, right? So I see what happens when you keep that attitude of like, I'm just never getting married. No, not me, bachelor for life. I've seen it now, and it's not good. It's actually pretty bad. You know, we need to work on interpersonal skills, love each other, find somebody, and make it work, because this is rough out here. They're not doing well. Because this is the thing. No matter who you are, when you get married, marriage is you having a life partner. You know what I mean? It's you having someone that can look at you as you get older and be like, hey, that's weird. Don't do that outside the house. Don't embarrass me in front of other people because they know we're together, all right? But if you don't have that, if you're not married and you don't have that, you just keep going through life and you get weirder and you think it's normal because you with you all day. So you were like, I think it's a good idea, let's do it. You know what I mean? And before you know it, you that weird dude. It's very upsetting, right? And this is the thing, this is the main way that I've watched it manifest, is that, how do I put this? Okay, when you get older and you take all that unmarried energy and you put it into something, most dudes put it into a passion or a hobby, right? Now, if your passion or hobby is useful to the world, then it's not a big deal. You know, if you do science and you're like, I'm never gonna get married, no, never, and then you just pour that into doing extra science, and then you discover something, people be like, wow, what a brilliant man. Thank goodness he dedicated his life to science. That's almost never happening. Usually, you put it into a weird-ass hobby. I got a friend, he put it all that unmarried energy into scams. That's all he does is scams now. And he be telling me about the scam. Okay, for all the fellas in here, do you know when you get the DM from the Instagram model with no followers and she needs money? That's him. That's him every time. He hitting everybody up. He got me. That's just, it's everybody. He's hitting them up. And I was like, who falls for this? And he's like, honestly, people that look like me. Like, it's pretty wild. Reminds me of that dude. Y'all see that dude? That dude that they caught, he had been faking heart attacks at all the restaurants. Oh, yeah. Okay, if you didn't see the story, basically this dude who looks like a walking heart attack was going to restaurants and faking heart attacks to get out of paying the bill. And he got off at like 19 different restaurants. They were just so thankful he didn't die in their booth that they were like, I guess you can just go. Just please leave. Don't die here, right? And then he finally got caught, and I feel like he got caught because that 20th restaurant was probably a Waffle House. probably his server would be like, you ain't dying without tipping me. Get your ass up. Get your ass up. Or even worse, they tried to help him. Some big cook comes out of the kitchen like, let me give him mouth to mouth. He gets up, he's like, actually, no, I'm sorry, this is a scam. Please send me to jail. I apologize. But that's what happens. You put all that energy into something that's not productive. It makes you weirder. Taking all that unmarried energy, you know. Like, I got a buddy, he's the only black ventriloquist I've ever met in my life, and it is so upsetting. This is an abomination, all right? This is so creepy. It's so, and he's not good. He's not good at all. We can all see him talking. We all see it. And then he making the doll move, but he can't stop looking at the doll too, so he's like, what's up, my boy? Like, it's jarring. And honestly, also, real quick, I do owe white people an apology, because I'd always made fun of my white friends who were scared of dolls and thought they were too creepy and freaky and everything. And I get, now that there's one that looks like me, I get it. This thing is disgusting. It's so freaky. It's just looking, his eyes and everything. I'm sorry, I judged too harshly. It's very creepy. But it's not just the dudes. A lot of the women that I know, middle-aged, you know, I ain't never getting married. And now, they all do one thing. They have different lives, different passions, careers, but they all do one thing. They be hugging me way too long. They be doing these long-ass hugs, and they moan the whole hug. Y'all ever had one of those church hugs? You know what I'm talking about? Like, sugar. How you been? How you been, baby? How you been? I even caught one of them. She was like, how you been? Y'all been great. Thank you so much.
Y'all are in for a treat. Give it up for Josh Johnson! I don't expect everyone to know or care about what's happening in New York, you know? Which is why I was surprised that the nation seems so gripped by New York City's mayoral race. Like, this, people talk about it everywhere because I think it's just feels like a beta test for something bigger, you know? In case you're not familiar, with who's running, right? You have to understand who's running to understand what's happening. Eric Adams is the mayor of New York City. And Eric Adams, in case you don't know, is one of the worst people at corruption I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, have a little mystery about you. Like, it's just, I feel like I could pay him off. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, one day when they make, like, his corruption is just, it's not enough. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be corrupt, go all in. He'd be having me feel bad for him. You know what I mean? You did all this corruption, that's all they gave you? You should have asked for more. It was very upsetting. If they ever revisit this chapter in New York mayoral history, everybody gonna be disappointed. Be like, flights? He went down for flights? Just tickets? You know what I mean? You had a dude in Illinois at least going down for gold bars. That's real corruption. That's like cartoon corruption. You know what I mean? Like, he took it back to the 50s level corruption. Break me off some gold bars, I'll get you anything you want. That's mustache twiddling, tying women to railroads corruption. That's crazy. And you over here embarrassing us as New Yorkers. This is a very rich city, and you going down for a couple flights to Turkey. Turkey! It's insane. But anyway, this dude got indicted. Indicted while in office, but because he has no shame, everybody was like, he gonna step down, right? Like, he got step down once he's indicted. That's too embarrassing to go to work indicted. The closest thing I can imagine to, like, okay, okay, this is bad, my bad. Look, so when I was a kid, I was a little bit older, but my buddy's dad got in trouble, and he got a little time. He had to do like a year, right? But he did, one of the crimes, I still don't understand this, one of the crimes where you get to report to jail. Like, you get to report to, that's always weird, because whenever you watch Law and Order, they take you like, jail start right after usually that's jail, you know what I mean? Like, usually they take you out, I didn't do it, right? But for some reason, they told him he was guilty, but they let him, get his stuff in order, and he could report to jail. And that weekend, his son, my friend, took the car without permission and came home a little later than curfew. And clearly, his kid may be like acting out of frustration about things that are going on with his dad, but he gets home and his dad's very upset with him, and he's like, you didn't ask for permission for the car, you're supposed to be home by 10, I'm sorry, but you're grounded. And my buddy was like, no, I'm just throwing it out there, because which one of us got to go to jail on Monday? Like, it sounds like you grounded. It sounds like you really the one in trouble here. And that's kind of what it felt like with Adams. He's like, still trying to be a mayor, talk about crime and stuff. Over here talking about crime in the city. And so then you also have Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis Sliwa is the Republican running. And he's an interesting dude. He's like the head of the Guardian Angels. If you don't know what the Guardian Angels are, they're basically these people who hang out on the subway. You know the movie The Warriors? All right, it's like that, but if one of the gangs wanted to be the police. Like, all they really do is just fight black and brown people that they think are doing a crime, and sometimes lose the fight very badly because they are getting older. And Curtis Lee, like, I guess I could slightly see how someone like him ends up like him, because he does have a story of violence against him for every story you bring up about New York City. Like, you'll be like, hey, do you ever take the yellow cab? He's like, I was shot in the back of a yellow cab in 1986. And you're like, how has this much happened to you? But Curtis Lee was running as a Republican. And then you have Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo is a former governor. And now he is running for mayor because governor turned out so well. And then you have Zoran Mamdani. And Zoran Mamdani almost feels like a fixture of politics at the moment, because he is someone who seems to be the antidote for the thing that's been ailing the Democratic Party maybe for like 9 years. You know? This is a dude who is running on what he will do and his own policies that he believes in. And it's one of the first people, Democrat or Republican, that is running without really having to say anything about Trump. He has his own ideas. He has things he wants to do for the place that he is running. He's not running on being not like Trump or closer to Trump or someone Trump will call or someone that Trump hates. He is not using Trump in his orbit. People bring him up, but he himself is saying, I want to make the buses fast and free. I want to have free child care. I want to freeze the rent for rent-stabilized homes. And I want to make sure that we hold bad landlords accountable. Things that are very specific, because that's the other thing that it feels like the Democratic Party has been missing, is a clear and concise plan for a policy, something that you can attach yourself to, that you don't really need to get in the weeds for. Because I'm not saying that Democratic senators and Democratic candidates have not had good plans. I'm just saying that once you need a graph, we are a country that doesn't like to read. It doesn't matter if it's a pie chart, it's still reading. Because one of the things that they've come after Mamdani about over and over and over again about his policies, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to do this? How do you plan to pay for it, right? And one thing that he's done very well is had a quick and simple explanation for his plans to pay for something, So when they ask him about maybe the bus system or maybe more rent stabilization, he'll say, we already spend this much money. So for the buses, he's like, we already generate $700 million in a bus fare. I think that would, is clearly money that we could use towards a free bus system. Also, all we have to do is raise the corporate tax rate and we'll have billions of extra dollars that could go towards childcare, billions of extra dollars that could go towards like a bus system. And then they're like, well, how do you plan to pay for it? Raising the corporate tax. Well, what will happen? If you raise the corporate tax, people will leave. Where are you raising the corporate tax to? And he'll be like, I'm just raising it to the same as New Jersey. Like what they already do right there. Like they actually already do it over there. I guess you didn't know that, but it's already, I would just copy them. It wouldn't be higher than that. I would copy what they do over there. And I don't know, is everyone dead in New Jersey? I don't think so. I don't think everybody left. In fact, a lot of people moved there. So I think they'll be fine. But I don't think that Zoran is leading in the polls or is the Democratic candidate because of his clear and concise policy. I don't even think it's his youth. I don't even think it's because he's captured a moment. I think that he is the front runner because he, more so than anybody else, to a degree I've never seen before, is the number one. I'm telling you, the number one. Of all time, the number one Andrew Cuomo hater. He hates this dude. He hates this dude so much. He hates this man. He wake up and hate him. He wake up and he hate him with a smile too. You ever had somebody hate you with a smile? It makes you feel crazy. You're like, what you just said to me was foul, but you're smiling. Why are you smiling? No, he hates this dude. And look, don't get me wrong, they all hate him. Like every candidate hates Cuomo. Eric Adams hates Cuomo so much that even though he had zero chance of winning, even though he was actually campaigning, this man was like, look, I'm gonna do it better next time. And we're like, do you mean crime? Do you mean... Eric Adams, he's even, look, to his credit, he is stumping with Cuomo. He's over there side by side with Cuomo and everything, probably looking for a job because he's about to be out of one. You know what I mean? Like, he is out there with Cuomo, but you can tell he hates this dude. Sliwa hates him. Curtis Sliwa hates Cuomo. He hates Cuomo so much that he was actually asked, by a reporter, you know, you're over here getting about 11% in the polls. Why not drop out if you don't want Zoran to win that much? Why not drop out? And clearly the people voting for you might also vote for Cuomo. And then Curtis Sliwa looked really offended. He was like, why would I drop out? People like me. This man is running as a Republican in New York City, and he's still like, I'm not gonna drop out if it helps him. Zoran Mondani hates Cuomo. He hates that dude so much. Hates him so effectively. Real hate. I've never hated somebody so much. I learned all their stats. Zoran hates Cuomo so much, he memorized everything Cuomo ever did wrong and bring it up any chance he get. That's generational hate. I think Andrew Cuomo hates Andrew Cuomo because he running. It's like, why are you putting yourself through this? You know, man. Because then you look at the debates. Okay. This is very important. I gotta go back in the story for a second because Andrew Cuomo wasn't always hated. Even if you hate him right now, think back to a time where you didn't even know who he was. That time he was like beloved. People forget all about it because that's kind of what we do whenever somebody has lost favor in the public eye. A lot of people say they never liked them or that they don't really know why anyone ever liked him. But people loved Cuomo, especially 2019 into 2020. People loved that dude. People loved Cuomo so much. I think that's why people hate him so much now. Because everything he did feels like such a betrayal of their love. You know, people were out here calling themselves Cuomo-sexuals. Look it up. That's a real thing. People loved him so much. And then he got popular around the same time that like zaddy became a term and everything. So he was riding some of that wave and stuff. And you know, there were people, oof. Cuomo couldn't go anywhere without middle-aged women fawning. They were like, oh, he's so handsome. They loved Cuomo. And then COVID came. And for a little while, they loved him even more because New York's numbers during COVID looked really, really bad initially. Obviously, it would. It's an epicenter of travel. People go there from all over the world. And we're also on top of each other all the time, pandemic or no pandemic. But then, we saw these huge numbers that scared everybody. And Cuomo was like, we're going to take this seriously, we're going to lock everything down. And he announced a bunch of policies. As soon as he announced those policies went into effect, and you saw the numbers crater. It was genuinely amazing to watch. It really felt like there was a lot of hope and everybody was going to live. And this is a long time before the vaccine came out or anything. So it was when people were at peak fear, right? But it was a wild time in New York because we had shut down so effectively that for the first time in New York City, the air was clean. You could take a deep breath. And then later, there was a scandal. Basically, it was exposed that Cuomo was doing some of the same things that Ron DeSantis was accused of doing in Florida, because Florida also had some pretty good numbers during COVID, which is weird because they didn't have any real shutdowns. They didn't have any real mask regulations or anything like that. But then both Cuomo and DeSantis were caught just not reporting or telling people not to report certain numbers. And it turned out that New York was looking really, really good in certain sections of the lockdown, except for nursing homes. And so the thing that's really important about that is that if you see the numbers going down and you've set up a bunch of policies, you'll think, okay, we should just keep doing this, see if the numbers go down further, right? If the numbers go up, you're like, clearly we need to change something. So because we did not have those markers of spikes, we didn't change things. And so there were a lot of seniors that died that didn't need to. They died in nursing homes because of protocols that just didn't have enough evidence around them and weren't the best practices, right? And he was covering it up. Some were saying by 50%, right? And so people started to like him a heck of a lot less. And then at the same time, basically in tandem, he was accused by about 11 women of sexual harassment. Then it was 13. That's stats. Those are numbers. Double digits, you doing it. You are clear. 13 women who don't know each other all got a story about you. That's you. You doing it. All of a sudden, nobody was Cuomo-sexual anymore. And everybody was telling this dude to resign, but he tried to fight it. He was like, I'm gonna fight these allegations. You're gonna see my name's gonna be cleared. And we were like, all right, but even if they clear your name on these sexual harassment allegations, you still did the nursing home thing. And so everybody from Joe Biden to Eric Adams was telling this dude to resign. And he finally resigned 2021. And now he's running for mayor. That's just important to make sure you know, because I've watched people struggle before in a way that was kind of what looked like a bit of a lost cause. I try to be optimistic for people that are in my life, but I'll give you an example. My buddy wanted to enter an arm wrestling contest, and we are built the same. I'm never going to tell anybody not to follow their dream, but I won't let someone sleepwalk off a building. And so I was like, are you sure? Because, you look like a mirror right now, and I'm not entering any arm wrestling. But he's like, no, I want to do it. Been watching online, so cool. There's actually a tournament coming up. I want to go. And so, I went with him. We went, and this dude squares up. It's one of those ones where they got the peg on one side, so you grab it, and they got your arm with the pad for your elbow. And sure enough, they went. And as soon as they started, he was over here. And I couldn't believe that this man was actually winning. He was like pushing the arm down, and then he won. I was surprised. Like when people got that farmer strength? You don't see any real definition of muscle. It's all smooth, but they're incredibly strong. I was like, maybe that's him. And then I watched him from round to round. This man got to the semifinals. And at the semifinals, somebody walked up who really did look like a final boss. In my head, I was like, you've done very well for yourself. It's time to pack it up before he take that arm for good. It's gonna pop right out the socket. You're gonna leave with one. And sure enough, he squared up. And then they told him to go, and he, oh! But this was different. This dude wasn't really moving, but he was really strained, even leaning a bit. Oh, and then he started to make noises he hadn't made in the other rounds. Oh! Oh! Once you scream in an arm wrestling contest, you have lost something. This man, oh! 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 And he's straining, and he's straining, and he's straining till finally he goes, ah! Ah! And he won. Now, to be fair, he won because the other guy went, ugh! Apparently, that is a disqualification. Yeah, even when we were in the car ride home, we did have to leave. He didn't get to go to the finals because even when we were in the car, I was over there trying to be optimistic. I was over there like, at least you won. I give you an example of how much Zoran Mamdani hates Andrew Cuomo. In the first debate, right? In the first debate, it was Curtis Lewa, Zoran Mamdani, and Andrew Cuomo all on stage together. Really, the race is between these two, but every once in a while we throw Curtis a question. And Cuomo's talking. And he goes, look, this is not a job. Being a mayor of one of the richest, biggest cities in the country is not a place for on-the-job experience. You know, this guy's never had a job before, and I don't think he can run the city. He definitely can't run it like I can. I can do a much better job. This is not a job for experience while you're in it. You gotta know, you gotta come with plans of what you're gonna do. And then, to his credit, Zoran, you know, it's like, I do have plans for what I'm gonna do. I've stated my plans clearly. Your only plan is to attack me. And Cuomo also came at him with a couple of things that are like talking points that a bunch of the candidates have used that they're not really clicking for me, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't have enough Islamophobia to have it register. But one of the things that Cuomo brings up is like, this man still, you know, won't denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. All right? You know, he's over here lobbing accusations at me. He still won't denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. What Andrew Cuomo is referring to, supposedly, is a time where someone else said it and Zoran didn't, I guess, tackle them. This isn't language that he used. It's not something he said. It's something that someone else said that I guess he didn't do enough about in Cuomo's eyes, right? Mamdani responded, well, look, you're talking about things that are from 2020. And since we're talking about things that are from 2020, I don't know why, people would elect a mayor who sent so many seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. What I lack in experience, I make up for in integrity. And for what you lack in integrity, you could never make up for in experience. And I've never watched any debate like a rap battle. I was sitting in front of the computer like, oh! Get him! No, it's wild. Even Curtis Lewa got in digs on Cuomo. Cuomo's catching it from all angles. Because then, they were talking about the accusations that had been lobbed at Cuomo during his time as governor. And Curtis Lewa goes, really? You spent all that money defending yourself? Really? All 13 women are lying, Andrew? All 13 women? This man hates Cuomo so much, he is standing up for women as a Republican. This dude hates Cuomo with all his heart. Oh, this dude hates Cuomo so much. And then the second debate was even worse. There was a moment in the second debate where the candidates were allowed to ask each other a question. It was just question and answer. They couldn't go back and forth. You just got a question, you had to answer. And Cuomo went over on Mamdani and he was like, you took a picture with this leader in Uganda. Did you know that this leader is actually someone who denounces all rights for gay people? They've actually worked on making it illegal to be gay in Uganda, and you took a picture with them. And Zoran answered, listen, at the time, I did not know this person's policies. I took a picture with this person. If I had known, I would not have taken that picture, full stop, right? And then it was Zoran's turn. And Zoran asked, he was like, Mr. Cuomo, in 2021, you were credibly accused by 13 women of sexual harassment. And in that time, you spent $20 million of taxpayer funds to defend yourself from all of these women. And you've lobbed, lawsuits, and you've worked with judges for gag orders and everything. You filed defamation suits on all these women. You have actually tried to obtain gynecological medical records of some of these women. Well, one of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is actually here tonight in the audience. And she can't even tell her story or speak for herself because you've lodged a defamation suit against her. But I can speak, so I want to ask on all of their behalfs, what do you say to the 13 women that accused you of sexual harassment? And it's in that moment I realized I wasn't hating to my full potential as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I am a C-tier hater when it comes to... This level of hate is unprecedented. I thought Kendrick hated Drake. This is truly wild. Because what can you do if you're Cuomo? I'll tell you what he did. He went, You went to Uganda? Truly, I have not seen a face like that on a person. Like, Andrew Cuomo's face when it was happening. I hadn't seen anyone make a face like that since my friend won his arm wrestling contest. I feel like the same thing was happening to Cuomo that happened to my buddy. Very bad. Whew. And Zoran is still leading in the polls, And one of the reasons that I think that he's still leading is because some of these efforts to stop Mondani have only helped him. Only helped him, because billionaires have come out in force against every policy and against Zoran as a candidate. And that says a lot. They're like accidentally making him more popular. You know? President Trump even said that if Zoran wins, he may have to mobilize the National Guard, take over New York City, which would be not just like a spit in the face to an open, free, and fair election, but what messaging does that look like to you? That you might have to send the National Guard and take over a city if the dude who wants free pre-K wins? No? Like all their efforts, they've spent so much money. Zoran himself has said, y'all are spending way more money on ads trying to campaign against me than I was even gonna tax you. You don't want it that bad, and why don't you want it that bad? That's crazy. There's something happening here, and I think that's why it's got so much tension across the nation. I think that, you know, America's very good at telling a story, and America is a salesman unto itself. It's like a salesman of a dream and of an idea, you know, and people, you know, one of the things that Trump and other people have said about Zoran is that he's a communist. He says he's a socialist, but he's a communist. And maybe that would have worked like 20 years ago. That might have worked. But we are a capitalist country. We all live in capitalism. And it's going poorly enough for enough people that they're willing to try anything. So calling someone a communist, this sort of Russia red, China red scare, it just doesn't hit the same when people are working jobs and still can't afford to feed their families. And then along comes someone with not just a lot of energy, but a lot of hope that says it doesn't have to be this way. Look at what they do over there. If we just did what they do over there, we'd be able to have more things for us, which is our money anyway. A lot of people have this misconception that the money that a corporation makes is all theirs and was all earned. But they got that money from how much they pay their workers, how much they actually provide for their consumers. And you see that when left up to their own devices, they skimp on, let's say it's just food, they skimp on ingredients, they skimp on workers, they skimp on. And then one day when they have $1 billion valuation, we look at them as if to tax them would be taking their $1 billion instead of just taking back what is owed to the people that made them great, you know? And so I think that what is so scary for people about Zoran that really don't like him is that he is a reminder to a lot of people that you are a citizen, you're not a consumer, you are a constituent, you're not a customer. Like the story that gets told now, especially by our politicians, is that if you ask for what is owed to you, what is actually yours, you're asking for a handout. But you already paid for these things, and you pay them. So the idea that these people would all stand together in unison against this person who just wants to make the bus free should tell you something. And all of them stand together against him in the way that they are, with all the money they're throwing at him, and with all the fear-mongering that they're doing, it's having the opposite effect. Because now, to vote for him, even if you don't even like him, you get to stick it to a billionaire, people you already don't like. So what you've accidentally done is made voting for him like kind of cool as well. It would be like if you didn't want someone to date someone else, but the way that you lobbed things at them, the things that you said about them to try to discourage this person from dating this other person would be like if you sat them down and said, oh, you don't want to get with him. No, his penis too big. He's just... You don't even want those problems. You don't.
It's Josh Johnson in 3D!
Ooh, I'm in 3D. Good popcorn.
Everybody's so mad at Timothée Chalamet. This is, wow. This is very mad. Okay, in case you didn't see it, this woof. Okay, so in case you didn't see it, he was talking to Matthew McConaughey, right? And they were surrounded. It was like a CNN variety thing, and they were all together in this room where a bunch of, I guess, like aspiring actors were surrounding them. The setup felt awkward, but basically, Timothée Chalamet said, at some point, he was talking about film, and he was like, I don't want to be working in ballet or opera or one of these things where they're like, please keep this thing alive even though nobody cares about it anymore, right? And I didn't know so many people did ballet and opera because the way that they came for his life, his head, everything, wow. So I thought it would be fun to come to the Wheeler Opera House. and talk about it. Because this is the thing. Look, this is the thing. Okay, so people were very, very upset. It's so big. It feels crazy that it's that big. We're at war. It's crazy that it's got this big. I thought it would blow over in like a day. You know, and no, people still out here making videos. People still out here talking about it. Even me. It got me too. Even the Met replied. The Met, you know, okay. I understand being upset at the idea, even the sentiment that like your art, the thing that you pour all of yourself into, is dying, right? I understand how it feels dismissive and offensive and everything. I'm not coming at anybody who had a response. I'm just saying like the Met replied with a video. I understand he was being disrespectful. He was being disrespectful to two art forms that are like actually the cornerstone of where a lot of creativity has come from, right? I understand that. I do get that. The Met, okay, this would be like, okay, because I've you know, been out with friends or whatever, and someone will say something about how they don't care at all about basketball. They don't care. I don't know what the rules are. They get it in the hoop, I guess. I don't care, right? Barclays Center doesn't reply to that person to be like, actually, a lot of people like it. Yeah, like. But I understand why the Met did it, because here's the thing. If you are in any creative field right now that in any way is struggling, you know, it's usually money that we count as the struggle. More often than not, it's like this thing isn't making money, so it must be struggling. And I think that sometimes we do the same thing that I at least think Timothy was doing when he said that, which is we confuse like commerce with creativity. You know, we look at this exchange of artists giving us their work and us returning it with our attention, and we look at it in a way that I don't think is helpful to art at all. Just ask an artist. And what happens is, if you're not making a ton of money, you must not be good at art, is the idea. And if you make a bunch of money, you must be the best at art, which everyone knows is not true. And so I think that when you talk about this thing is dying or nobody cares about it anymore, it's like, I think you're only speaking on money. And so if something doesn't yield a lot of money, in the back of our minds, it's not great art. Because if it was great art, more people would engage with it, give more of their dollars to it. It would just be more substantial, you know? But that's not why you do art. I know maybe for some people it is, but it shouldn't be. That's not what makes art. Imagine if your kid came to you and said, when I grow up, I want to make money. I'm talking stacks. I'm a paint. Oh, sweetie.
I have terrible news for you about the art world. And don't get me wrong, that's not to say that artists don't make money and that people don't care about art that doesn't end up making money. We have to do like an uncoupling of art and money, of art and popularity. Real art, the things that move you, they move you. And sometimes they happen to move other people. But whether they do or not, that shouldn't determine whether we count them as art. You see a painting and you're moved, that's art to you. You hear a song and you're moved, that's art to you. It shouldn't matter how many streams it has. It shouldn't matter if the person that made it is on the charts. The song moved you. Art is so subjective, not just in its value, but also in like its meaning to the individual, that you will hear a song that moves you more than anything has ever moved you in your life. And you might even be blessed enough to one day meet the person who wrote that song and get to tell them what that song meant to you and how you could hear the pain that they had in the relationship that they were longing for in the song, and you came across that song in a time in your life when you were also hurting deeply. Maybe you lost someone, maybe it was a loved one, or maybe you lost love. Maybe someone broke up with you and you just could not put it into words, even in the quiet of your own mind. You couldn't find the words, and then you heard that song and it was everything that you had ever wanted to say to yourself about what you were going through. And you get to tell them that. And then maybe they say, oh, wow, I'm so glad it moved you. That song was about heroin. Because that's part of art. Part of art is making it and then letting it go, letting it be whatever it is to other people. You know? You spend a lot of time, especially when you begin as an artist, making bad art. Now, this bad art, maybe it's bad because it's not well communicated. Maybe it's bad, someone would say, because it's not making any money and no one knows who you are yet. Or maybe it's just bad in your own opinion based on the skills that you build off the skills you didn't have when you first did the art. Right? So it takes a long time. And then to have your art recognized it's a tremendously powerful thing. To get an award for your art means so much, because as artists, no matter what you do, I don't know if you act, if you write, whether it's poetry, novels, whatever you do, whatever artistic thing it is that you do, you are on your own in this endeavor. Even when you're with a group, your contribution comes from you. You are on your own as you do it. And because you're on your own, you're just sometimes what feels like floating in a void. Is this good? Is this worth it? Should I share it? All these things that eat away at your artistic endeavor. An award sometimes is the validation that you need to keep going, and it shouldn't be, but sometimes it is. It's nice when someone or a group of people or everybody is like, wow, that's art. You killed it. And maybe that's why Timothée Chalamet wants an Oscar so bad. Because he's clearly killing it. He's been in a lot of blockbusters. He's known as a great actor. But this thing, the pinnacle, he hasn't reached it yet. And so he's been on a marketing campaign for a movie that he did. It feels like the campaign has been going on longer than the movie was out. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've seen more interviews for it than longer than it was, but you get it. And I'll even say this, I don't know if this is gonna come off however it comes off, but I personally view Timothée Chalamet as someone who promotes his movie like his character from the movie. Do you know what I mean? So when he was like sweet and sensitive and quiet, that's how he promoted the movie. You see in interviews where he was like, I'm just happy to be working with it. I just, it's like the artist. It's like, what did you say? No, we should really just it doesn't matter what I said. You know what I mean? Like, we should really just listen to more women speak. That's like what. And now for Marty Supreme, you can guess what the character's like, because Timmy's out here, hard, promoting, This is the movie. Have you seen the movie? Then what you doing with your life? Get together March, Spring, Christmas Day. And I think some of the annoyance is it's because we don't have a sort of like monoculture anymore that just feeds us the thing to be watching and to be talking about. Once the internet sort of democratized attention, we got to this place where, okay, I could do anything all day. I could watch 2 hours of cat videos. I could watch like 2 hours of cat videos and nobody can stop me. You're not the boss of me. And I'm not crazy for watching 2 hours of cat videos because you provided them to me, internet. Like you're acting like I have some sort of choice. There's a cat video, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. And so you're able now to go from what was cable, which is just, this is what's gonna be on, and you can watch this at 8 o'clock, or you can change the channel and watch something else at 8 o'clock. But all the TV and all the attention is already sort of spoken for in a way. And then the internet made it so that you could be doing anything. You could just be playing chess for 3 hours online, losing. Losing badly. Losing in a way that makes you question if you understand the concepts of space. Losing so fundamentally that it makes you wonder if you're colorblind to what black and white are. Losing horrifically. Losing so bad that you scream into a screen that can't hear you. It can't hear you, and neither can your opponent. You just lost in a room by yourself playing chess. And one day, maybe you won't lose, but that day isn't today. You've been losing for 3 hours straight. You've been putting all of your time and attention into doing these en passant and, like trying to get somebody to fall for the scholar's mate and everything, and now you're just sitting here in checkmate. You don't even have the strength in your hand to refresh the page because you don't know if you can lose again. If you lose again, you might snap. This might be, who would have thought, with everything going on in the world, who would have thought losing a chess for 3 hours was the thing that would break you? And so you could do that. You could do that. You could watch cat videos. You could do whatever. So then when you see something over and over again, like Timothy Chalamet promoting Marty Supreme, it feels a bit forced. Because you're not used to seeing things you don't feel like seeing anymore. I mean, outside of the news. I feel like Tim was out here promoting hard, believing in this movie, campaigning for that Best Actor Oscar award. But this is a tough year to try to get it. Because you also have Sinners. Wow. Okay, look, if you haven't seen Sinners, what are you doing with your life? Look, if you haven't seen Sinners, just Sinners winning, sweeping at the Oscars for the story would be amazing. Because Ryan Coogler, this man got a groundbreaking deal for this movie. This man got a groundbreaking deal for this movie in a time where we're not even really making new things often. We are leaning on nostalgia hard. Everybody's trying to make it a bygone era all over again. Do it all the time. Come on, y'all, Rush Hour 4. It needs to happen. You as a creative, right, up against the industry. No matter who you are and no matter what you do, you can probably appreciate what this story means for people. You as a creative are up against your industry to create something new. You want to make something new because everyone's kind of sick of the stuff we've seen before. We can't stay nostalgic for the 90s forever. I love 90s nostalgia just as much as anybody else. It's when my knees were the best. Like, I love 90s nostalgia. I'm trying to do 90s nostalgia all the time. I'm like, hey, do y'all remember when? Y'all remember I did that push-up real fast? That was good stuff, man. 90s were all right. All the musicians I liked were still alive and we didn't know enough about them. You know what I mean? 90s, wow, ooh, 90s, even into the 2000s. Still pretty good. We didn't appreciate it back then. It was like we had just enough tech to feel like we were headed towards the future, but not enough that it was like rotting our brain. At most, you played like Centipede on your phone too much. But yeah, there's this thing that you sit down as a creative and you sit down opposite your industry, whatever the gatekeepers are, whatever the people with the big money, right? And you pitch to them. And they're used to being pitched to. But you pitch to them something where I still don't know, to the moment I'm speaking, how this ever happened. You pitch them a deal that if it works, and if everyone watches it work, could be the death of the old guard of your industry. It could be the death of the way that things are done. You know, he negotiated this incredible deal, like a generational wealth type of deal. You dream about these deals, and then you wake up, and then, you know, you realize you're not on your break anymore. You're actually 5 minutes late for your shifts. And you clock back in, and your boss is breathing down your neck, but you're like, one day I'll be able to make just art. One day. These are the type of dreams you dream about when you dream about a deal like this. And it was gonna be him making money off of like $1. None of this like funny business, Hollywood accounting, where you tell me I get points on the thing, but then you also tell me the thing never became profitable while bragging about how profitable it was because you made back channels for yourself to pay yourself to where you're still in debt even though you made all the money. None of that. Also, I'll own it again. Over time, I'll own it again. This thing that is wildly popular, I'll get ownership back. I actually have ownership over my intellectual property. You can have it for a little while, but you're just borrowing it. It's mine. It was a deal that was usually what the industry does to the artist. So it was mind-blowing. And then they go, they make the movie. The movie drops. The movie is very good. The movie's incredible, and we expect nothing less. It's Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler. These are the people that brought us Creed, Black Panther, Fruitville Station. It even got the Black Panther treatment, where if you were in a room and you didn't like Sinners that much, you better not tell anybody. I like Sinners, but I watched some people who didn't like Sinners that much voice that they didn't like Sinners that much, and then watch them get eaten alive verbally. Like, I had to act like I didn't even come with them. I was like, I don't know who he is. And you saw the articles come out when Sinners came out, and the articles were fascinating because the articles were hating hard. These articles, people act like they didn't write them now that like everybody loves the movie. But woof, Sinners came out and they were like, all right, it made $50 million, but it cost way more than that to make, so like, we'll see. You're like, oh, I've never seen an article like that. It's like, okay, Sinners made like $90 million, but 90 isn't 92. It finally got to the point where articles were coming out that were like, look, Sinners made a lot of money, but it didn't make it all at once. It didn't make it like on the first day, though. It felt like these articles were written in the voice of like, if you like someone and then they curbed you and you got to write an article about their current boyfriend. You know what I mean? It's just hater energy from the start. Just literally sitting there like, he a surgeon, but how many lives has he saved really? You know what I mean? Like, he went to school and all, that's nice. Sound like a lot of student loan debt if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, like, is he a good surgeon? I don't know. Let's ask one of his patients that's no longer with us. Oh, wait, we can't. You know what I mean? And so you have all that, and that's what you're up against in this field of people fighting for that same award. A lot of people want Michael B. Jordan to win. No? Yeah. They're here. I'm one of them. I guess, okay, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in junior high, all the different junior high and high schools where I grew up would have their talent shows around the same time, right? And so people would go and support their friends and everything. And there was a kid that went to this one school, and he was in a wheelchair, right? And he was the first student that somehow had been in a wheelchair, so they had to update all these things to code to accommodate them. And that can get a lot of eyes on you, especially as a kid. Literally being the only one who is different can get a lot of eyes on you in a terrible way. But this kid, very confident. Very, very confident. Confidence from a place that, I don't know. It's one of those people where it almost feels like they were born with it. You know, because yes, he's wheeling down the halls and he's got his friends. He makes his friends because he's got a great personality and everything. And then the talent show comes around and no one knew he had been working on this. Nobody knew what he had planned to do. They just knew he had entered in the talent show and he wouldn't tell anybody. They're like, what are you going to do? He's like, you'll see. That day comes for a talent show. This kid wheels up to the stage, grabs 2 crutches. You have to forgive me because I don't know what they're called when they go around your wrist, but he had the 2 crutches, stands up, and then does a dance routine medley to walk it out and 2-step. People are losing their minds. He got out of a wheelchair and was 2-stepping. People were losing it, crushed it. Walks back over to his wheelchair, sits back down, even wheels out cool, just goes backwards off the ramp. I can't imagine having to follow him. Apparently the kid that went after him did tap dance, and it was not as well received. I'm not gonna lie, if I had planned to tap dance that night and the kid before me got out of a wheelchair and danced to 2-step, I would walk out in tap shoes like, I'm gonna do some beatboxing for y'all real quick. But the night goes on, but everybody's talking about it. Literally, people are performing and there are people whispering like, do you believe that's crazy? And then this young lady goes up and she sings, right? And she's got a great voice, sings very well, sings beautifully, and then gets off stage. And because it's a talent show with judges, they judge the performances, they announce the winners, and they gave it to the girl that sang. And everyone, okay. Apparently, even when they announced her name, she was like, yo. The audience didn't see it, but backstage they announced her name and she was still just like, hey, no. So I think about that, because like, what if Timothée Chalamet wins? You know? And it's important to remember, not just for him, but for all of us. Even with the success of something like Sinners, it's like art can't be audited. Like you can't penny pinch passion. The things that make people dedicate their lives to art forms, there's no price that you can put on it. And what about artwork that you can't make money from? There are artists who do beautiful drawings in the sand and let the tide take it away. Is that not art because they didn't charge you to watch them at the beach? You know, us expanding our understanding of what art is and what artists go through is like, yeah, it's just paramount to a better world, you know? And you know, in Sinners, they have that song, I Lied to You. Incredible song. Incredibly visually, everything that's happening in the movie. And apparently they're gonna have I Lied to You performed at the Oscars. And Misty Copeland, the first African-American principal ballerina, is gonna be dancing. And Timothée Chalamet is gonna be sitting there like, yo, it was 12 seconds, my bad. Like, But he's not the only person having a rough week. Kristi Noem got fired. Kristi Noem, It's just such a funny firing to me. It's like, you did all that and got fired. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, imagine basically being a Nazi and still getting fired. That's like somebody snitching and still going to jail. It's just like, what was it for? I don't know, man. What's Kristi gonna do? Can't work at Homeland Security? Can't work at an animal shelter? Like, her job prospects are dwindling in real time. Man. Yeah, Kristi Noem is just, I don't know, it's ridiculous. It's so bad. I'll tell you right now why I think Kristi Noem got fired before Pam Bondi. Because at least with Pam Bondi, there are people who see what's happening. They see like the release / not release, or the covering up / exposing, or the attack on, or like distraction from the Epstein files as like her. Like a lot of this they see as her fault, right? They don't see it as Trump. So when the files get released, but then they're redacted in these weird places that seem like important information that can't be about national security, it looks like it was Pam Bondi. When the law is literally broken because they're supposed to be released by a certain date and they're held even longer so they could be redacted more, it looks like it's Pam Bondi instead of Trump. But with Kristi Noem, she never really felt in charge. Do you know what I mean? Like when you saw ICE, you weren't like that dang Kristi Noem. You were like, no, this is Trump's thing. Like Pam Bondi runs a sort of cover for Trump that Kristi could never. You know? Because then there were people who were like, Pam Bondi's gonna be like this whip-smart lawyer. She understands the law. Some people were even saying she's gonna rein Trump in a little bit, right? But I don't care who you are. Even MAGA, when Kristi Noem got hired, they were like, oh. All right, I guess do what you want. I mean, we know she a killer, so I guess that's something, I suppose. Oh, Kristi Noem mismanaged so much money, spent hundreds of millions of dollars on ads for ICE. Went to marketing consultants and tried to help her be like the face of ICE, face of Homeland Security and everything. Just mismanaged all these funds. They even asked her if she had an affair on the job with Corey Lewandowski. And she was like, this sort of line of question is absolutely ridiculous. I can't even believe that the Senate would stoop to this sort. And they were like, you're not saying no. Yeah. Man, what do you do? Kristi Noem out here. The thing that's funniest to me about Kristi Noem, okay, if I'm being honest with you, one thing that does make me laugh is if you wrote a book about Kristi Noem, right? Not the one that she did. Like if you wrote a whole book about Kristi Noem and everything that she did and you just put it out there, and let's say her name wasn't on it, and somebody read that book, they'd be like, this right here feels racist to white women. Like this. Some of this doesn't even seem true. White women love puppies. They never murder one. No. And then Kristi Noem's been replaced with Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne, if you can't tell by the name, Mark Wayne Mullen is about as equipped as Kristi Noem. I love the name Mark Wayne Mullen because Mark Wayne, it sounds like you have to yell that name and tell that person not to do something that no one's ever done before. Do you know what I mean? Mark Wayne. Mark Wayne, stop drinking that paint. Mark Wayne. Mark Wayne, quit it. Mark Wayne, stop smudging the glass with your penis. Mark Wayne. Mark Wayne, cut it out. Mark Wayne, stop eating light bulbs, Mark Wayne. Mark Wayne just doesn't, all right, but just doesn't feel like a serious name to me. Just go by Mark, buddy. Because Mark Mullen sounds like out of a movie. You know what I mean? Mark Mullen, okay. Who is this person? Are they competent? Mark Wayne. You hear it, right? You hear it. This isn't just because I grew up in Louisiana. This is like, I'm telling you right now, there's Mark and then Mark Wayne. Like, Mark Wayne sounds like he skipped school to go to the rodeo. Like, it's... And he's an interesting guy because he's been tapped. He's not really better than Kristi Noem in any regard. And he tried to have a fight in Congress with a guy who was testifying. A lot of people forgot about this video. He challenged this dude to a fight in real time. They like were getting into it, exchanging words. He's like, well, we can handle it right now. Bernie Sanders had to be like, you sit down. You're senator, sit down. Imagine, you Mark Wayne Mullen, and Bernie Sanders break you off of somebody. Yeah. Even Trump not having a good last couple months at all. This is very bad. It's very, like, no one seems to want to admit how bad it is. This is very bad. This is genuinely, like I hope you can understand objectively. This is serious and it's horrible. Look at his neck. That's crazy. I don't know what happened. I saw that, I was like, oh! I'm trying to have my snacks. You can't just sneak up on me with that picture. That's not fair at all. If you haven't seen Trump's neck, it looked like somebody ran it right over. This is crazy. This man, first his hands. Looked like he got like Smurf knuckles on his hands. And then just certain parts of his neck looked sunburnt, but like deeper than that. It's very weird. You saw it over the collar. He's also been getting more screenings than like other presidents. You know, he's like getting a lot of screenings just to say he's healthy. Whenever I go to the doctor and he says that I'm healthy, I don't see that dude again for a while. That's not a good sign either, to have a doctor check in every 2 months, be like, healthy? Yep. Oh, healthy. Not at all. This man, wow. He bad off. He looked like the flag. He genuinely red, white, and blue. Like this dude is melting or something. I'm scared he got something new. You know what I mean? Like this. I've never seen. I understand, like, age could do stuff to you. I get that, but like, he is like an older man now. He's undeniably old. And remember when old was like a big deal? Remember when old was like disqualifying from being president? Not that long ago. I don't care who you are. We all owe Biden an apology. Because he was like old but quiet. Do you know what I mean? He was old in a way that was like, he told the story too low. You didn't know what he was saying, and when he was telling the story, it was like each part of the story was from a different decade. Like he'd start the story, he'd be like, I got this Sacagawea coin from Jimi Hendrix, and then Madonna showed up and performed like a virgin, and Fat Joe was there too. And he did Lean Back. It was all on the Amtrak train that they just finished in Delaware. It's like... That was a timeline. Nope. No, it was crazy. It was very bad. But now we have an old guy who is very clearly old. Obviously old. But he's mean, which makes him feel younger. I don't know if you ever visit anybody in a nursing home, but if they're not having a good day, they seem right with it. They're like just mean enough to feel like they got all their faculties. You know what I mean? Biden was old in that way that was like, well, uh-oh. Is he gonna make it? No. I can't believe Trump being this old, this unhealthy, is still like sidestepping these massive issues, you know? Like Biden couldn't do it because you would try to press Biden about something and he would be like, look. I was there. And now we're here. Like Biden would say something that you couldn't tell if it was like incoherent or wisdom. Trump is over here. You'll press Trump about are we at war? Are we at war? Are we doing a war? And Trump will be, instead of just answering the question, are we at war? You start a war without the approval of Congress. You start a war. And Trump will be like, well, you're ugly. Like, you are ugly, though. You're ugly, though. Are we not going to address that you're ugly, though? Like, we're just going to all sit here like you're not being ugly right now? That's the real issue. You're at war with looks. You are. And before you know it, even we fall for the trick. We're like, I can't believe he called that reporter ugly. That was so rude. They were just doing their job and everything. It's like, yeah, you didn't make him answer the question. But he's very old. We have to accept the fact that our president is not equipped, very old. He has diapers. Don't try to deny it. We are not going to sit here right now and act like when Trump is walking around in that suit, that's just padunk behind him. There's no way. Trump a thick boy. He's not that thick. That's a diaper. That's 100% a diaper. We can take bets if you want. That's a diaper. Somebody changes the president every day. Yeah, you should be upset about that. Remember when we were like, he can't be president? That guy's forgetful. It's like, all right, okay. Yeah. Unacceptable. Truly, it's insane. Got us in a... Speaking of nostalgia, right? Like, talking about how Hollywood tries to repeat everything. Don't you remember a simpler time? A simpler time in politics. Remember Bush? Remember George Bush? You know, W. In case you're confused about which Bush, I'm talking about the smiley one. You remember Bush? Remember that dude got us in a war, then choked on a pretzel. A lot of people forgot or didn't know this man choked on a pretzel soon after the war in Afghanistan started, and they had to Heimlich him. He was he about to go as president, choked on a pretzel. Secret Service had to save him from his tiny throat. What an innocent time. And he just keeps like bringing people in who are out of their minds. You know? And Dr. Oz is over here. I don't know if Dr. Oz or RFK Jr. or what. Like RFK Jr. I understand that there's a process where the Senate confirms these cabinet positions and everything. And I understand that there are some things in personal bias that you would not want to allow to be disqualifying so that way you could be like impartial to how this person presents in front of you, right? But RFK Jr. was barefoot on a plain bathroom floor. That was it for me. I was like, I don't care what you do or what you eat or what ferments you eat, and like, you know what I mean, you could be as crunchy as you want, but if you put your bare foot on plain bathroom floor, late in the flight too, late in the flight. Late flight is very different than early. It still shouldn't happen at all, but late flight, every step is nasty. You over here in charge of health. That is infuriating. I won't stop talking about it. It's like, no matter what happens, whether it's like the war in Iran, every day, there's so many things coming at you all the time for no reason at all, out of nowhere. The other day, Trump was like, Cuba's next. And I'm like, somebody give him like a Valium or something. Like, slow him down. This is crazy. But no matter what happens, I won't stop talking about RFK Jr. being the head of Health and Human Services. Yeah, the Epstein files, but like the head of Health and Human Services, you barefoot on a plane. Let me tell you the circumstances that it would take for me to be barefoot on a bathroom plane floor. We're on the plane. We're on the plane. That's the first step. You have to be. We're on the plane. For whatever reason, it's going down. And it's going down hard. Like, this is it. Like, if you love anybody, call them. Take it off airplane mode. Make something happen. Because this is it, right? Black box might not even survive. Going all the way down. And then at the last second, they're able to pull the plane up a little bit. But what a lot of people don't know is that depending on how hard you pull and how fast how quickly it happens, you could snap the wings, So let's say that happens, the wings snap. Now we're just a bullet. We're just a bullet going down from the air. Nobody tries to catch that bullet. Nobody's trying to help. Everybody trying to get out of the way. So now we're falling even faster because not even falling with wings. You can hear us in the clouds shooting past other clouds. We're flying past birds. Birds were like, what was that? I don't know. I think a gun? I have no idea. And then by some miracle, right? By some miracle, just in time, we hit another plane, right? I know this sounds bad at first. Hear me out. Listen to me. We hit a plane just enough to get like knocked off course from going straight down, right? So now we're doing one of these things where we're like kind of sliding down in the air, but some of the fuselage is broken off. So then we lost a few people. They flew right out. They got sucked out immediately, okay? Now I'm still in my seat because I wear my seatbelt like the flight attendant says to. So I've been over here bouncing, right? Because that is what would happen. People act like if you fasten in tight, your midsection will stay in the seat. You going up, down too, right? I'm gripping the seat in front of me, finally trying to read that pamphlet they give you. try to read the pamphlet sometimes because I fly a lot, so you would think I know, and they still tell you to read it even if you fly a lot because maybe they updated it and have a plan for like if you're actually going down. Because the thing they tell you to do is just like, all right, don't pay attention to that, you're gonna die. Like that, like in the pamphlet, they're like, yeah, go ahead and tuck your head, and he's like, is that so your neck breaks faster? I have no idea why that's a good idea. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Has that ever saved anybody where they're like, oh, thank goodness I put my knees in my chest as the plane fell out of the sky. Whew. There's not that many pages, but you turn the other page. Wow, it says everything but pray. It doesn't say pray on here at all, but all right. And then we hit the ground, we snap off into another piece, right? And so now we're still flying through this field. Let's say we found like a nice grassy patch, like some prairie, sliding through, and pieces of the plane are flying off, you know. There's other seats flying past my head. Whoa, 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 you know. And then we're spinning and everything. And it's not advised. I shouldn't do it. I'm surprised I'm still alive, but I take off my seatbelt because I have a bad feeling about my seat. I think it's about to snap off too. And what do you know? I'm right. Just like in a James Bond film, as soon as I stand up, that seat fly out of the plane. And now I'm running, right? I'm running towards the cockpit. I'm running towards the cockpit, pieces of the plane flying back out of the plane and everything. And just as I'm almost at the cockpit, because it just seems safer to get to where the stuff won't fly and hit me. Just as I get there, I see a piece of metal. Maybe it's the jump seat of one of the flight attendants or something. I jump up, real action movie style. I jump up, and the metal on that jump seat cuts the bottom out of both of my shoes. I'm still running towards the cockpit, right? And then the door is locked, because of course it is. Of course the door to the cockpit is locked. Why did I think I could just get in there like that? But the thing that's right next to the cockpit door is the bathroom. Things can't fly at me if I'm in a safe room. So then I walk in the bathroom and I shut the door. I do the pull, the lights come on. They still work somehow. And then I wait for somebody to come get me, because I'm terrified. First responders get there. They're like, hello, hello. Is anybody alive? Nobody. Is anybody alive? They call out to me and I'm like, hey, I'm in here. And now I do run the risk of them walking up to the bathroom door, opening it and wondering if I was in there for the entire plane crash. But I don't care about any of that. I open the door, I'm like, oh, thank goodness you're here. Maybe even I hug one of them, Firefighter's big and strong. Jump in his arms. And he says, you're safe. You're safe. You're on solid ground. I can't believe you survived. I can't either. And then he looks down at my feet and he sees that I was in the airplane bathroom with my feet touching the bathroom floor. And then he justly kills me. Cause I don't know how I'm gonna age. I'd like to think I'll be like a good old man. Like I'll be good at it. Like I'll have a bunch of stories. I go to tell a story because I've always loved telling stories ever since I was little. Right now, hopefully in the future, I'll have even more stories. And I'm older, so I don't project as much. You gotta lean in a little bit. They get close to me. And I'm like, this Sacagawea coin.
Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
One thing that is very fun about being in Pittsburgh is your sort of singleness in fandom. The way that you love the Steelers, right? The way that you, yeah. And I saw this story about a woman whose husband sadly passed, and to commemorate him, she kept his Steelers tattoo. I'm glad we're on the same page. Because initially when I saw it, I was like, yeah, no, kept the Steelers tattoo and it's like in a little. And then in the article, she was like, yes, we kept the tattoo. No, we don't think it's weird. And I was like, I figured you didn't think it was weird. Seems like it was your idea. That would be wild if you were sitting there holding the plaque like, I can't believe they let us do this. This is... little odd, right? And look, I don't know. Wow. Like when I saw it, I was like, because also, look, I'm not gonna linger on it too long, but it was a big tattoo, so I don't even know what that, is that back? Is that arm? Is that, you know what I mean? And maybe this is something that the husband would have loved. Maybe he's like, yeah, keep it, put it in the living room, right? I don't know. I also don't know how hauntings work, but I imagine I do imagine having some of my skin means I'm gonna stop by. If anybody ever kept some of my neck, I think I'd be like, we have to have a discussion. Poltergeist or not, I'm coming over, we're talking about it. You know, you already have to be careful in people's houses because you never know who got the urn on the mantle or something like that. I don't know why they don't sell urns with like a lock on it. Every urn I've ever come across just been ready to be opened like a cup of sugar. We gotta start making urns harder to spill. You know what I mean? I've been in people's houses where they got, whether it's like a family member or the pet, they got the urn on like a mantle or a bookshelf, and I'm like, that's a little high. If it falls, they will be everywhere. And it does sort of, I don't know.
It does taint the memory a little bit if this urn fall and now you gotta Dyson him up. And then put him back in a new urn with whatever was on the carpet. Just something to think about, baby. Literally, just even McDonald's cups are harder to spill. Just something with a twist lock, something. Because let's be honest, unless you spread in the ashes, you never need the ashes. You know? It's not like you hiding something in the ashes and then you're gonna open up the urn, pull out the Glock. Like that'd be a wild home invasion. That'd be imagine you're, let's say somebody, goodness forbid, but let's say somebody broke in your house or something like that, and then they've got you and the family held hostage, and maybe you did something to them. Maybe you're a healthcare CEO, right? And so then they got you tied up with your family and everything, and it's like, look, I'm sorry, all right? And they're like, sorry is not enough, you about to go. It's like, okay. All right, I get that, but okay, but a long time ago, my wife passed, and I always said that, like, whenever I go, I'd like to go with her, and she's right there. Intruder gonna be like, over there? Yeah, she's on the fourth shelf. Fourth shelf next to Great Expectations. If I could just like hold her, I'll just, just small kindness. Let me hold her while you bow. The intruder's like, okay, go ahead. Go get her. Thanks, honey. No, it's wild. Because now that mantle it's like in a frame, and I guess they're gonna put it on the wall. That seemed just as precarious as any urn. Imagine you having a house party. And somebody bumped the frame, it fall. Now you getting yelled at. You knocked over daddy. Everybody does things differently, and some people very differently. But once again, I don't know. I don't know if he would have loved this sort of thing, But it'd be crazy to think he might be looking down like, ugh. But in
case he loves this sort of thing, and in case he can hear us, on 3, I'd love all of you to join me in a Go Steelers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Hopefully that will stop me from being haunted. In my life, I've had a lot of roommates, and it's funny because, like, I don't know, I've talked about this before, but like, roommates is like extra family because you're poor. You don't exactly bunk up with a stranger because things are going well. Every roommate I've ever had has been out of necessity. And you just gotta get used to it. But it's crazy because people, the way that people are roommates is usually a clue into how they lived before, like how they were raised potentially. Maybe they were raised to act differently than they're acting as roommates, and this is them out on their own for the first time, rebelling against all these rules they had at home when they were, younger. That's the most charitable way to put it. Like, I think mostly a lot of people are insane. And there's nothing like having like a messy or lunatic roommate, and then maybe you do become friends though. Maybe you're friends, maybe you're friendly. And then you go visit them at their house and you see that it's pretty much the same. This person is wild through and through. I had a roommate that, there would be some nights where he would sleep in the bathtub. He had a bed, he had a mattress, he had pillows. But he said he would sleep in the bathtub because it felt more normal to him when he would wake up from a night terror. And I was like, I don't know how you find that out. That means this man had night terrors and tried every room before he went tub. And that was a tough roommate to have because, I would go to bed at a regular time, even a little late because, we're young and everything. We're in college, and then I would just know I can't go to the bathroom for the rest of the night. No, I can't. I'm gonna have to hold it until he wakes up. And what would normally be distressing, sleeping peacefully, and then hearing from the bathroom, is only made a relief because then I know, okay, he's up, I can go. A lot of people in America worry about terrorism. This is a top concern for some people, and it just depends, mostly to me at least, on when you were born. And I think that within this understanding of terrorism, there are many different definitions. One definition is someone who stokes fear and anxiety for the purpose of fear and anxiety in their enemies. And there's a lot of talk of terrorism or potential terrorism. People get called terrorists all the time, and there are some people that want to equate terrorism to one specific group, one specific religion. But I know that there are terrorists, but the terrorists that I'm talking about, they have no religion. The terrorists that I'm talking about, the terrorists that I believe already live in the U.S., they don't have some God that they call to for their purpose of doing what they do. They just do it to stoke fear and anxiety. I'm talking about people who put an empty box of cereal back on the shelf. These people have no place in our society, all right? I had a roommate. Last straw for me was this man. I had bought some Cheerios, and I bought it for the group. We all eating out here. And so then I go to grab the Cheerios, and I'm excited, I'm hungry. And I go to grab the Cheerios, and there's a certain feeling. Anyone who's been a victim of what I'm talking about will know the feeling. It is a weightlessness of despair. You go to grab what you think might even be a half-full box of cereal, and in your attempt to grab it, you put too much energy, too much force into your shoulder, into your arm, into your hand. And when you put that force into your shoulder and your arm and your hand, and you grab the box of cereal and you go to lift it up, you hit the top of the cabinet. Because there's nothing in there. And not only is there nothing in there, what's been left is crumbs. And the sound of crumbs is the jingle bells of poverty, all right? I've never felt poorer than when I hear crumbs. Hearing crumbs is right out of Oliver Twist. Crumbs is what Charles Dickens wrote all his best work to. I didn't even think I could hear crumbs. Oh, but they have a sound. It's a mix between bread particles bouncing off each other and then a whisper. It's in a moment. It's something that almost can't be identified. And it's the whisper of those crumbs, the same way that you could split atoms or you could collide particles and make an entire boom, a bang, a nuclear bomb, and a hydrogen bomb. The banging together of these bread particles makes one singular noise, and it is the universe telling you from a point of almost quantum physics, bouncing the particles off each other, that you're poor. That's the sound of poor. Wouldn't you love to say yum? You'll never say it. You're too poor. These are crumbs. If you've ever, in your life, out of necessity, not out of deliciousness, had to pour crumbs into your mouth, only in the Bible do I imagine this level of thirst for food. You might as well be in the desert. Even if you are in your Pittsburgh apartment, you might as well be in the desert if you are opening your mouth, letting it hang, while an entire bag of crumbs slides and floats to your mouth. Because the crumbs that are sliding into your mouth from this bag, they have no Christianity.
These crumbs are there to embarrass you. They're there to make you look and feel poor while you pour them into your mouth. Maybe that's where we get the word poor from, and maybe that's where we get the other word poor from, because you have to pour these into your mouth while you feel like the poorest person that has ever lived. And the bag is stiff because it's that hard, semi-soft plastic that they only make cereal bags out of. And because of that, it's got a lot of ridges. It's got a lot of things that the crumbs can slide and get caught up on, you know? It's a lot like when you try to get water to a new place and the water is working its way through the canyon, but it doesn't know where to go yet. It's being pushed by the other water. And this gravity that's pulling down the crumbs to your mouth has the crumbs rushing at you from all angles. Even when you try to pinch the bag, you try to pinch the bag to give yourself some dignity. You try to pinch it and straighten it up to make a funnel for your mouth, because this is all you have. Crumbs is all you have. Crumbs is your life. And so you make it as straight as possible. You slide it down. Only when you are making a paper plane do you have this level of intent as you straighten something out. You straighten it out as much as possible, and then you dip it into your mouth, and still the ridges find a way. Because the devil is busy. Oh, the devil is hard at work trying to make you look and feel poor, even if you're alone in the room. You pour the crumbs, they're rushing from all angles, skiing down the plastic to your mouth. But then something happens. You don't know if it's in the middle of the bag or it's at the very edge, because some bags, depending on what cereal you get, have smooth tops and some have ridged tops, okay? That's gonna be important, because if it's a smooth top, the crumbs will slide out. If there's ridges right at the top, that means that the crumbs have one last giddy up before they get to your mouth. And so then not only do they giddy up, but you are looking for the food. You'd at least like to see what you're eating. And so you're looking down the bag, and the crumbs are like, we can go anywhere. We could go in your mouth, we could go up your nose, but we love to go in your eyes. And so then you're standing there with crumbs in your mouth and in your eyes and down your face and down your shirt, because as soon as they got in your eyes, they stung, because crumbs are sharp. You might as well juggle knives over your open eyes. You know what that feels like? To be Do you know what that feels like, to have to dig Cinnamon Toast Crunch out your eyes? Every cereal sharp. Every cereal is sharp. And so I remember I was a victim of terrorism. And I took my crumbs like a man. But then I confronted my roommate. I said, hey. I know what you did. You know what you did. I don't know why you did it. I feel like I've been very respectful. I feel like we have a good rapport. I don't know why you would engage in such a vicious attack against my Saturday. And he was like, what? I was like, you know what? Because he did know what. Because without me saying anything else, he was like, look. I put it back, but there was some in there. And I said, some crumbs? He's like, no,
there was Cheerios in there. And then I thought, okay, maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe I have accused the wrong roommate, because I have more than one. And so then I walked to the kitchen with him, because the bag and the box were laying on the ground, because I obviously had to run to the bathroom and wash my eyes out of the very sharp cereal. And at this time, first of all, I need to go back. This is the second time this had happened, all right? And so first time was Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then the next time it was Cheerios. That's my mistake. And so then he was like, there was some in there, and then we walk over, and the bag and the box are strewn on the floor like a crime scene. Because I had to drop them immediately. I also got Cheerio in my eye. And I was like, there was nothing. And you know there was nothing because it was only crumbs. And now the crumbs are in me and on me. And then he's like, no, there was something left. I was like, what left? And he was like, there was one Cheerio. And I was like, now I know. You might as well be Osama bin Laden, because the fact that there was one Cheerio you chose to not eat and leave means you're out of your mind. And then I looked, and sure enough, there was one Cheerio on the ground. One Cheerio. A single Cheerio. Like a British person saying goodbye. Obviously, I didn't kill him. I'm here with you now, but I thought about it. I struggled a lot, growing up, even into like early adulthood, with opinion of myself, with like body image and everything. It's very difficult sometimes for any young person to believe, if they don't already believe, that they are lovable or that they are good in just the way that they are. Basically, that they are enough. You're still working on yourself. There's still things you want to do with your life. You got your whole life ahead of you, but there's nothing extra you have to do to be worth anything, And it's a hard thing to convince someone of who doesn't believe it. I wish more people believed it. If you saw yourself the way that the people that love you see you, what a beautiful world that would be, And it's not as if love isn't poured into and on these people, showered with praise when something goes right. Not everyone gets it, but even for the people that do, they still struggle with body image, they still struggle with confidence. And then for the people who should have people that they look up to, maybe not giving them any of that, either being indifferent to them or actively hurting their confidence. Sometimes even when you have those positive forces in your life, you still don't accept it in a way that would help boost your confidence. You're like, she loves me, but that's like my mom. She biased. And I know for me, I spent a ton of time trying to work on myself in different ways. Some things that I actually needed, some things that built me up, and some things that were maybe a little bit unnecessary, I really struggled to look at myself in any positive way until I got really fit. Like in my head, really, really fit. I should look like, I saw other guys and I thought I should look like that. I should look like a version of that, at least, And never mind that I'm looking at dudes who have been on their own journey or struggle with their own confidence, or maybe get a little extra help to look the way that they look. I don't know. And I was never trying to be like insanely huge. I joke about being like ripped and real big, but honestly, I don't have the frame for it. Truly, I'm not tall enough to be wide. Yeah, I mean, no matter how big my shoulders got, I'd start to just be in the way. Like, it looks good in the picture when you're flexing and you've got all the muscles and they're all defined and everything, but then practically in life, it does start to be a problem when you're trying to walk through a door. You don't want to be on a date and see a door and go, uh-oh. How do we handle this? You know, because the shoulders, the hips, they're all wide and muscular, but that door frame, oof, making all of them standard. I can't believe they're doing this. And then you're holding hands, you get to the door, and you're like, you first. You look like you being a gentleman, you know. Please go ahead. And then she walks through the door with ease, and you now have to figure something out. You're standing on the opposite side of the door, and you're like, oh, okay. As soon as you strained, you let her know this isn't going to be the life for her. I never wanted to be huge. I just wanted to be very, very fit, you know? And I worked on it with some success, with less success. But even when I started to work out, I realized that wasn't really the issue. Now I was going to the gym, and I was eating as much as possible, and I was gaining a little bit of weight. Not much. And I was like fighting to keep looking this certain way. And I finally accepted that, like, even if I got there, maybe I wouldn't be happy. And I even discovered that through other people who I knew were there. People who I wanted to look like that were in my life, you know? And they still had all the same problems I did. And I would go to the gym and I'd see people packed in there fighting to look a certain way so they could feel a certain way. And there is a bit of a cheat code. You could try to work on feeling the way without having to fully change your entire body. You know, you don't have to earn loving yourself through like straining and potentially hurting yourself, you know? Like there's some things that there's some things that go and be lifted in therapy, you know? Like it's just and but I remember I would see these workouts, and sometimes you see people get creative. There are a couple machines that are pretty straightforward. You sit down, you want to row, you put your feet here, and you pull. And that's the exercise right here. This is just what you do, and you do it for your back. You know, you work a little biceps in there too, and maybe if you're trying to work more of the back, you can lean forward a little, lean back a little with the pull. You know, I saw a guy sit down like normal, and then put his feet in. And I'm not gonna lie, I stopped. I was like, this is about to be awesome.
This man, I don't know what muscle it works out. It seems like it just ruins your joints, but he went, Just make sure it's clear. And it looked like it felt like it sounded. This man did 8 sets of 10. And I watched the whole thing. Oh. There was even a time where I went to the gym and, you know, I was working out my legs differently. You know, I was doing some lunges, I was doing some like split squats and everything. Not much weight, but just trying to make sure that I worked out my legs, because there are some people that in all that self-consciousness and all of that wanting to build up for yourself, your body and your image, they still only work on the glamour muscles. They forget the base. They forget their core sometimes, and they definitely forget their legs. And we've been told since we were children that the legs are important. We've been told in many different ways. We've been told by PE teachers. We've been told by coaches. We've been told by parents. We've been told by cartoons. There's an entire cartoon dedicated to people who skip leg day. Johnny Bravo was trying to warn us for our entire childhood how important leg day is. That's not a structure you want. You don't want to have more hair than... So I was working out my legs, and so I'm packed into this gym with a bunch of other people, which is, look, it's very frustrating because this gym was unfortunately affordable. So a lot of people were in there, you know, and I was one of them. And I was hopeful, you know, sometimes they sell memberships all year and they're counting on people not to go. The way the gym structures are built out, it's so that you get all of these people here, but they're signed up, they don't actually show up. And so a gym is able to run fairly efficiently as long as like 1/10 of the people who are members show up at a time. If everybody showed up that was a member of the gym, if everybody started to really decide to work on themselves, it would look a lot like TSA. Be very little movement. The only way to work out would be passing the weights, just you can have some. And while I was in the gym, packed in there with everybody else, there was a fire alarm that went off and some smoke that we saw. And, you know, I didn't see any fire, but 2 out of 3 signs isn't bad. And so there were only 2 exits, which in retrospect was a horrible thing. Like, you could only get out through the elevator, which you're not going to take during a fire, or the stairs. And so people started clamoring for the stairs. And this is where
the real fitness test began. Because there were some people that were out in a flash, but then there were other people who had been working out, so they used all their fire running strength on the treadmill. So now they see that the fire alarm is going off and there's smoke, and they hop off the treadmill and they're like, oh no. And then there were other people, what I would assume people who were a bit out of their mind, that even treated the running out of the gym like a workout. There was one lady literally still looking at her watch going, and then there was me, who had been doing leg day. Tried to make my way out as fast as I could, but honestly, if I could brag on myself for a second, I had gone pretty hard. You know, I had a PR and everything, and a PR is what you don't want to have when it's time to run. Because I put the weight down, I saw everybody running out, and I made my way for the exit, and I could not stop jiggling. Like every... And yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you have to evacuate for a fire, but nobody moves like there's a fire. Even as you're going downstairs to like get out of the building that has smoke in it that is like clearly, at least seemingly on fire, you still get people that do that thing that people do when they get to the top of the stairs, where now that they're clear, they just enjoy their day. If you've ever been in a walkway, there are people who can't wait. At the beginning of the stairs, they can't wait to get up there. And then as soon as they get up there, as soon as they are past the last step, they're like, oh, yes. As if there's not a ton of people behind them. And so I'm noticing as I'm shaking and jiggling down the steps, how slow people are going down the steps. And so people do start to scream like, hey, hurry, move it, you know, fire. And then we get outside, and it was next to the door. One of the reasons everybody was slowing up was that same lady was out front near the door, just like next to the door, just run, like you still got the rest of the world to run. What are you waiting for? If you're waiting for your gym buddy, you left him. You left him to die. It's funny because I was watching the news and I saw this, can't really call it a debate, it was more of a screaming match. But it was on CNN. And on CNN, okay. Found the one person that works at CNN, and that's... Man, I've never heard anybody clap for CNN like that. Yeah. What is that? Now, to be fair, though, look. To be fair, we don't know where our friend is from, and CNN abroad is actually substantially better. Like, when you watch CNN and you're in like France or something, it is actually like engaging programming. That we really are the only ones that do CNN the way we do CNN. I like, as an example, when you travel the world, McDonald's is still fast food. We're the only ones that made it poison.
You know? Every other country, they just say what happened on the news. They just tell you. They're like, oh yeah, no, then these people came, and then the other people came, and then the first people left, and then the second group of people left. It's really mostly in the US where you watch news and it's like, chaos in the streets! Like every news segment is cutting a promo for a horror movie. I was watching CNN and I saw where Jillian Michaels was on there in a debate that she seemed to have started, and they were talking about changes to the Smithsonian and how art and culture shifts between who has the power to dictate how the exhibits are written, who the exhibits are of, and everything. And Jillian Michaels was like, it's so unfair that slavery in this country only gets blamed on one race. Look, as outrageous as that is genuinely funny. Like, look, I'm not gonna tell anybody how to feel, but if you heard the words I said, that Jillian said, and you immediately got angry, I would ask you to take a step back. I'm not gonna tell you how to feel. You can be angry if you want to be angry, because it is a very short-sighted, ignorant thing to say, but that's precisely why it's so funny. It is absolutely hilarious. But the best way I can describe why this is funny is when I was a kid, I would be at home alone for about 3 hours. I would get off, from school. I would do practice, and then I would get home and be alone for about 3 hours, right? So for 3 hours, I was the only person in the house. And one day, I was just walking through the house. I was eating something. I think I was like eating some Easy Mac and walking, not paying attention where I was going. And I knocked over this vase. And it was a vase that my mom loved, right? And so it smashes on the ground. And I genuinely didn't know what to do, because I was like, man, I'm going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I need to think of something. And in my head, I was like, what should I do? Should I call my mom now and be like, hey, when you get home, you will want to beat me. But I feel like if I tell you now and you're going to be like on shift for another half hour, and then just the concern, because I never call you, I'm hoping the concern that you have that I am calling you you'll be so relieved that I'm alive, that I'm not dead, you'll want to kill me less. You know, because having that coworker be like, it's your son, you know what I mean? And then have you be like, oh, what, my baby? And then I tell you what I'm about to tell you, and then you're like, oh, I'm just so glad you're still with us that I would hate to make it so you were not, right? That was one thought. Then the other thought was, look, I've given this whole having a family thing a good run. Maybe I dip right now. Maybe I leave home right now. And then the third thing, which is what I did do, was nothing. I went to my room and played some video games for what felt like might be the last time in a long time. And then my mom got home. I remember all the noises of her getting home. I remember the like screen door, and then the lock, and then the lock turning, and then the deadbolt turning,
and then her walking in, the screen door shutting behind her, her shutting the door, her locking the door, and the deadbolt. Again, every footstep from the front door to the kitchen, because she missed it at first. And then every footstep after the kitchen back into the living room where I heard my name. And not my name the way you know it, my full legal name. You know what they put on your death certificate or before a parent kills you? My full legal name. And then I walk in and my mom is like, "What happened? What is this?" And then I said, "Oh, you just gonna blame it on me?" Wow. Maybe I was in there playing video games the entire time. Maybe somebody broke it, and left. Maybe I'm lucky to be alive right now. You're just gonna immediately blame me because I was the only one here. You're just gonna blame me because it looks like it was me. And that's kind of what Jillian Michaels was doing with the whole, like... Yeah, that's kind of what she was doing. Can't believe you would just blame it on one race of people. And it's so funny, too, because when it comes to history like that, there are always these bad actors that try to pull the thinnest straw man out of the woodwork, you know? There'll always be that person. There was a guy, I don't actually remember his name, and this is before slavery in the U.S. was more based on race and before more people were shipped to the U.S. There was a dude that I've read about that apparently was of African descent, and he came over and he had about 2 or 3 slaves. And one of those slaves was seemingly of the Caucasian persuasion. And whether this thing is true or a myth, I've heard it my entire life when referencing slavery, that there was one black guy who had a white slave. And I'm like, look, even if that's true, that's not what it's known for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You're just picking and choosing how you present an entire idea. And it makes sense to me that someone like Jillian Michaels would say something like this. She is from a reality TV show. She's known for the show The Biggest Loser. Yeah, that's who she is, that coach from The Biggest Loser. You know, the nice one. The Biggest Loser was a show, I don't think it's still on the air anymore, so if you're not familiar with the show, it was a show where they would bring on people who were overweight, struggling with image and everything, and they would help them lose weight by making them do slavery.
Mira,